Hey y'all, it's Kristen, and this is my first video for my 64 hexagrams challenge. So my goal is to do a video that covers 8 hexagrams at a time. So I'm studying the hexagrams one at a time from January 1st through March 4th. And I'm inviting everyone to join me. You can just use hashtag 64 hexagrams challenge on social media. And if you want to be in a study space, I am kind of leading, doing some, we're doing a kickoff event. We already finished that, and a finale event. And then I'll be posting there some articles, blog posts, and answering questions there and doing a little bit more in that study space. It's only $15. It's in Life Alchemy Academy, which is on Mighty Network, and it's hosted by Kyla Givehand. So I'll put all the details down below. And in that space, you can you'll have access to this deck. This is a free printable that you'll have access to, and you can color it in if you want. You can leave it black and white. I call it the color your own trigram cards, and so I'll be using them just as I'm kind of studying the hexagrams, and I'll be using them for these videos. I also have in the study space a worksheet that will kind of help you to just organize your thoughts around each hexagram. So I hope that you'll join me there. We do also have quite a few people in the group who are studying the hexagrams through the lens of human design. So I'll probably post a little bit more in that study space. I might mention some things about human design as I go through here, because in human design, the hexagrams are the gates. So I'm just going to look at the first 4 hexagrams first. And so we have, I'm also wanted to say I'm using a deck that I am creating because for me, making oracle decks is how I study things. It just helps me to synthesize all the information, really integrate my learning. So first, we're just going to start with what I'm calling dynamic force, which is heaven over heaven. It's hexagram 1. One of the things that I'm looking at is just, some of the symbols that show up in that hexagram, like the dragon, the energy of the sun, and just kind of looking at that energy, what does it actually symbolize? So some of these I'm going to rename a little bit. Some of these might not be like the traditional names, although every book has a slightly different name. I'm really looking into the etymology of the name or the title, and just seeing how well it fits, based on what I'm studying. So the first hexagram, we have basically double heaven energy. We've got a really dynamic force, a strong creative force. What's interesting about this one, though, is that although it's full of ideas and it's creating structure and order, it really can't do any manifesting without the receptive force, which is hexagram 2. And in this one, is really about heaven, the sky, the sun, and that really dynamic energy. And the receptive force is really about the earth. It's earth over earth. I depicted it here as like an open field, a pasture with a mare, because the hexagram talks about a female horse, a mare. And so hexagram 2 is needed for manifesting. The energy of hexagram 2 brings everything down to earth, brings all of those ideas down to earth, and it provides a shelter or a container or something to put all those ideas into so that you can manifest. So that is the energy of earth over earth. What's really interesting is that these two, hexagram 1 and 2, to me kind of give you like a pattern or a blueprint for everything else. We have the odd number as pure yang, and the even number as pure yin. And so they are paired. And that's another thing. I'm really looking at these as pairs. 1 and 2 are paired. 3 and 4 are paired. 5 and 6 are paired. 7 and 8 are paired, and so on. So I'm really going to be looking also at like, what are the pairs? In this case, we have inverse pairs, pure yang, pure yin. And these are really like the starting energies, the primordial energies that give birth to everything else. Now we're going to look at 3 and 4. So hexagram 3 is water over thunder. Hexagram 4 is mountain over water. Essentially, though, what it is hexagram 3, if you turned it upside down, this is what you would get. So, like I said, a lot of these pairs, when you look at them, some of them are just upside down, some of them are just kind of inverse. So that's one of the things I'm really going to be paying more attention to. So when we look at hexagram 3, I'm calling it initial difficulty. Essentially, this is the father energy, this is the mother energy, then they give birth to the child. So this one is really just like the baby, the beginning. And some of the descriptions talk about a plant that's bursting through like frozen ground or through the crust of the earth. Like it's a difficult birth, essentially. It's got to actually sprout up through a hard ground. I'm also looking at these in terms of seasons. I'm following Robin Armstrong's seasonal information. If you're looking at this through the lens of human design, there's a different seasonal kind of clock that you want to look at. But in the seasonal system I'm looking at, this would be in the sign of Capricorn in January. So there would still be like, the ground might be frozen at this point. So it's kind of like trying to burst up through hard ground. And so we're looking at this as initial difficulty. And what I found interesting is that if you look at the nuclear trigrams, you see earth and then you see mountain. And mountain often shows up as a block. So it's kind of like pushing up through the earth, pushing through this mountain. So I think, to me, I could see a little bit more of that image in the nuclear hexagrams than I can see like necessarily with water and thunder. And then for 4 here, I kept a similar image. 4 often references a plant as well in some of the symbolism. But in this case, I put it in nighttime. So that's what this is supposed to be. A lot of the symbolism for this hexagram talks about a plant being under a cover, like being covered up or concealed, or something that's happening at night. So there is a sense of, not being able to see. So this one I'm calling immaturity. It's often called youthful folly, and it can represent ignorance, inexperience, not knowing something. And so in this one, it's like a plant is being pulled up out of the ground prematurely. So we're looking at something that's happening before you're ready for it to happen. We have mountain over water. And I'm kind of playing up in this one. I think I'm looking at it, the concealment, or the thing that's hidden. And in this case, the thing that's hidden is really like knowledge and understanding. So that's how I'm looking at. Like I said, I'm going to do this pretty quickly. If you want, I guess, more detail, like I said, I'll be doing some blog posts and things in the study space, but I want to just give a quick overview here. And I'd love to know how you see these hexagrams. So let me go through 5 through 8. So we have water over heaven, 5. And then we have heaven over water for 6. And let's see. We've got earth over water, but I don't have another water, so I'm going to have to put a little blank space there. And then we're going to have water over earth. And I have found it interesting that there's so much water showing up in these first, it really is through, it's hexagrams 3 through 8. It's just all of them have water. So when we look at this one, hexagram 5, which is usually called waiting, this is water over heaven. This one really symbolically is meant to depict kind of waiting for it to rain. I depicted it a little bit different because it's kind of hard to depict waiting for rain. So I'm kind of looking at it as waiting for the rain to stop. But this one is seen as waiting because you're really waiting for the natural cycles or events to happen. I think in human design, this one's called fixed patterns, but it relates to rhythms, like someone who is good at following or perceiving the rhythms and the flow of life. And that's really what this one is about, being in sync with those rhythms, so that the waiting, you know that you're waiting for something, and that yes, it is going to rain, and it's going to feed your crops, and they're going to grow. So 6, I named dispute. Sometimes this one will be seen as lawsuit, bringing up kind of judicial matters. This one is heaven over water. And what you'll see a lot of times in the symbolism is that this is bringing up kind of like a conflict or a public dispute. One of the things, just if we look at the trigrams, heaven trigram moves upward, water moves down. So you have energies that are moving apart from each other. And water always moves to like the lowest part of the earth. So again, we've got something that's going far up in the air, in the sky, and then something that's going far down. And so if we look at these like people, we would see people that are separating or pulling apart, can't get along, or at a distance from each other. And so that feeds into that energy of this hexagram. This one also, in the etymology, talks about words or a public dispute. And so that's why I called this one dispute. I did try to make it like a courtroom because I think in our modern times, that's where we would hold public disputes. So now I'm just going to move water here. I'm going to move water here because that's where they would show up for 7 and 8. And so, I will say I'm still kind of working out the pairing. I mean, we could see the pairs with the trigrams, but just understanding what did the pairs, to me, the pairs have to have something in common, or you need to see the contrast or the comparison between them. I'm still kind of working some of that out with these two. With 7 and 8, though, I can see it pretty clearly. So 7 is the army. It's earth over water. And then I'll just say 8 is water over earth. Earth represents multitudes, or like all of the people, the society, the multitude of the people, the community. And so with the army, what you're looking at is one person who is leading the multitude. With union, you're looking at essentially the multitude who is feeding into the community. I'm probably not saying that right, but essentially it's kind of like people linking up together in a community. So it's similar, but just people in different roles is the way I would describe this. So that's what I was trying to depict here. Like the one person in the center is kind of bringing everybody together. Whereas with union, it's kind of like people from different multitudes coming together to kind of make one group or one community. So that's how I'm looking at those two at this point. And I think I'm trying to see, was there anything else I wanted to say? I think if you look at it from a human design, I think this one is, let's see. I think this one has a long title. It's like the role of the self in interaction, and this one is contribution. So this is like, I think people contributing to the community. And this one is really talking more about leadership and someone who can step into or who has like a natural affinity to lead people. And so if you're looking at this through a human design lens and you're trying to understand the gates, I think understanding just kind of the hexagram energy, the overall energy, might help you to put some of the gates into perspective as well. So this is where I am so far. I may change some of the visual or the text of the cards. I have been changing them kind of as I go, because sometimes I'll run across some information and I'll want to integrate that or adapt the card for, new knowledge that's coming in. But I plan to just do this again for every 8 hexagrams.